When someone throws thorns in your path, fate always makes sure they're the first to bleed. That's the law of cosmic balance, the silent force that never forgets, never favors, and never fails. Every move we make sends out a vibration, chosen one, and the universe records it all like a mirror with memory. Those who build traps out of envy eventually walk straight into them. The same mouths that cursed your rise now taste the bitterness of their own words, because life always settles its debts. No one escapes the echo of what they create. This balance is poetic, isn't it? While they whispered in corners, plotting storms against you, the wind turned, pushing your sails instead. They called it manipulation. Destiny called it alignment. They thought their hate was a weapon, but it was really a hammer, shaping your strength, forging your focus. Every rumor became fuel. Every insult was sandpaper refining your shine. The irony burns them now, because the chaos they unleashed to stop you became the current that carried you further. So let them keep talking, chosen one. Let them drown in their own noise while you move in silence, building higher. Remember, true power doesn't chase revenge. It attracts results. You were never their target. You were their test, and they failed it publicly. If you feel that fire in your soul, if this truth hits where words can't, pause for a second. Press like, subscribe, and help this message reach the ones still walking through the storm. Together, we rise while the fallen learn why balance always wins. Before we dive into this truth, take a breath. Chosen one, because what's coming next will flip the way you see every betrayal, every fake smile, every silent attack. You're about to understand why their downfall was never your fault. It was their choice, written in their own foolishness. So before we go deeper, do 3 things that fuel this movement. Hit that like, tap subscribe, and drop 99 in the comments to lock in your energy with this message. Every number, every click, every comment amplifies this truth through the noise. Stay right here, because by the end of this, you'll see exactly how the same people who cheered your fall built their own collapse with their bare hands. Number 1. Stop bowing to fools. Loyalty without wisdom leads to self-destruction. They built their little empire out of noise and jealousy, stacking lies like a shaky tower, convinced it would stand forever. But all it took was one gust of truth, you, and the whole thing came crashing down. That's the irony, chosen one. You didn't have to swing, shout, or expose them. Your growth alone was enough to shake their illusion. The reason they're furious now isn't because you hurt them. It's because you didn't collapse when they needed you to. Their hate needed your reaction to survive, and you starved it with silence. Look closer at what really happened. They never believed in the one they followed. They just wanted someone loud enough to drown out their own doubt. They mistook volume for vision, arrogance for leadership. Deep down, every single one of them saw the cracks, the contradictions, the fake confidence, the erratic behavior. But instead of stepping back, they kept clapping. Why? Because it was easier to follow the noise than face their own emptiness. Peer pressure is a subtle poison. It convinces cowards they're brave simply because they're standing in a crowd. Now the show's over. The leader they worshipped has imploded, and their false alliance lies in ruins. They're not just angry, they're embarrassed, because deep inside they know the truth. No one tricked them. They tricked themselves. They traded reason for belonging, sold integrity for inclusion, and now they're paying in regret. You can see it in their eyes. People haunted by their own reflection, realizing they helped build the very chaos that now consumes them. Here's the cruel twist. They thought their unity made them powerful, but unity built on envy isn't strength. It's suicide in slow motion. They followed a spark of madness thinking it was fire, but it burned them first. And now, as the smoke clears, they see what you already knew. Loyalty to a fool doesn't make you loyal. It makes you lost. Chosen one, that's why your calm infuriates them. You didn't beg to be understood. You didn't fight for their validation. You just kept moving, and the distance exposed them more than confrontation ever could. That's the art of power. They attacked expecting you to crumble, but instead, your silence became their mirror. They can't forgive you for being the proof that their hate had no power. So let them boil in the stew they cooked. Their downfall was never punishment. It was the natural collapse of what's built on delusion. You just stayed rooted, aligned, unshaken. That's why you're still standing while they scramble through the ruins they created. And as they choke on their own noise, remember this: you never destroyed them, chosen one. You simply refused to join their parade of fools, and that refusal became the strike that ended their show. Number 2. Never let hate steer the wheel. Let truth, not bitterness, guide your moves. Hate is the cheapest fuel in existence. It burns bright for a moment, then leaves everyone choking in the smoke. That's what happened to them. Chosen one. They thought their bitterness was strategy. They mistook rage for momentum. But hate doesn't build. It corrodes from the inside out. Every plan they made, every word they threw, every fake alliance they built around their anger was a ticking time bomb waiting to implode. And when it did, it wasn't your silence that broke them. It was their own fire turning inward. They wanted to destroy you, not because you wronged them, but because your peace exposed their chaos. Your progress made their excuses look weak. So they twisted stories, created drama, and convinced themselves that dragging you down would somehow lift them up. But hate doesn't lift, it sinks. It's like trying to climb by pulling someone else's leg. Eventually, you both end up in the dirt, and that's exactly where they are now, digging through the ruins of their own decisions, still trying to understand how the hate that felt so powerful left them powerless. You, on the other hand, chose differently. You moved with clarity, with reason, with truth as your compass. You didn't match their noise. You mastered your silence. You didn't let anger steer. You let alignment drive. That's the difference between them and you. They followed emotion. You followed elevation. They chased validation. You chased growth. So, chosen one, let them burn out in the storms they created. Don't let their poison pull you off your path. Hate might make noise, but truth makes progress. And right now, you're proof that while hate is busy crashing, truth just keeps moving forward. Number 3. Don't hide behind crowds. Stand alone in truth when the mob marches blind. They thought numbers made them invincible. They believed that if enough hands clapped for a lie, it would start to sound like truth. That's the illusion of the herd. The noise feels like power until the silence of consequence arrives. Chosen one never mistake a crowd for clarity. Those who march without thinking are not warriors, they're echoes, repeating the same confusion louder and louder until they can't even hear themselves. When this group gathered, they weren't bound by reason or integrity. They were bound by weakness, a mutual addiction to gossip, a craving for validation. They thought unity in hate was strength, but all they built was a fragile chorus of cowards. And when the storm came, they scattered, tripping over their own lies, exposing the emptiness beneath their noise. You, on the other hand, stood alone, and that's what terrified them most. Because standing alone requires what they'll never have, a spine. Here's the truth most people can't handle. The crowd protects no one. It only delays collapse. When one fool falls, the rest follow, because none of them ever learned to walk without holding on to another's delusion. That's why they resent you, chosen one. You didn't need their validation to breathe. Your silence wasn't submission, it was control. Your stillness wasn't fear, it was power. Remember this, 100 blind followers still can't find a way out of darkness, but one person walking in truth can light the entire path. Let them call you cold, arrogant, distant. It's better to be alone in truth than surrounded by noise built on lies. The crowd may move faster, but only the grounded reach the end standing. So let them march. You just keep walking forward, calm, sharp, and unstoppable. Number 4. Choose battles wisely. Don't swing at those protected by purpose. Every downfall starts with a miscalculation, and this group made the biggest one. They picked the wrong opponent. They thought you were ordinary, someone they could provoke, twist, and break down. What they didn't realize, chosen one, is that purpose has its own armor. You were never standing alone, you were standing aligned with truth, with discipline, with the power that comes from being built, not bought. When people mistake your calm for weakness, that's their first mistake. When they attack someone guided by purpose, that's their last. They expected chaos, a loud reaction, an emotional collapse they could point at and call victory. But instead, you gave them silence, the kind that echoes louder than any argument. You didn't shout back, you leveled up. You didn't explain, you executed. That silence was their undoing. It forced them to face themselves, to see the cracks in their logic and the desperation in their mission. While they were plotting storms, you were learning to control the weather. That's what destroyed them. They brought weapons to a battlefield that existed only in their heads. And now, every time your name crosses their lips, it drags regret with it. They can't admit they lost, because that would mean admitting they started a war they were never built to win. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting your purpose, and that's a battle no fool survives. So let them swing into thin air, chosen one. You don't fight noise, you outgrow it. You don't prove your worth, you embody it. Remember this truth. Those who attack what's aligned with purpose always end up bruised by their own ignorance. Your stillness was your sword, your composure was your crown, and the moment you refused to swing back, you won. Number 5. Heed the red flags early. The fire you cheer might soon burn you too. Chosen one, here's the cold truth. Most people don't fall because they were attacked. They fall because they ignored the warning signs flashing in front of their face. This group saw the madness clearly. The chaos wasn't hidden. It screamed from every move that lunatic made. The arrogance, the temper, the contradictions, it was all there. But they laughed. They justified it. They thought, it's not coming for me. And that's where the trap snapped. The fire they clapped for found its way to their doorstep. It's a dangerous game when people cheer for destruction just because it's not aimed at them. They watched the flames dance around your name and mistook it for entertainment, never realizing that fire doesn't stay contained. It spreads. When you align yourself with recklessness, you become collateral damage in someone else's downfall. The same chaos they fed is now feeding on them. The same lies they helped build are now wrapping around their own necks. That's what happens when ignorance disguises itself as loyalty. You, chosen one, didn't have to expose anyone. The universe did it for you. Every red flag they ignored became a spotlight on their foolishness. They thought silence meant safety, but silence in the face of insanity is just quiet consent. And now their peace has a price tag they can't afford. Let this sink deep. Never celebrate another person's destruction. Never confuse drama for strength. Those who dance around a fire built on hate always end up with the ashes in their hands. You, chosen one, walked away from the blaze while they stood too close, and now they're learning the oldest lesson in existence. When you cheer for someone else's pain, the universe eventually makes you feel it. Number 6. Step out of the line of collapse. Don't be the domino that falls for deception. They thought they were part of a movement. They weren't. They were just lined up dominoes, standing shoulder to shoulder behind a loud fraud with no direction, waiting for someone else to think for them. And when the first lie fell, the rest followed. Fast, loud, and humiliating. That's the tragedy of blind loyalty. It looks like unity until gravity kicks in. Chosen one, you watched it from a distance, calm and steady, while their collapse played out like slow-motion karma. They kept cheering every reckless move, pretending it was strategy, convincing themselves the noise was progress, but deep down, they knew something was off. The chaos wasn't leadership, it was warning, yet none of them had the courage to step out of line. They were too afraid to look different, too desperate to belong. That's how deception works. It doesn't need logic, it just needs followers scared of standing alone. You, on the other hand, didn't march. You observed. You trusted silence over spectacle, truth over tension. And that's why you didn't fall when they did. Every time they laughed at your calm, they were laughing on the edge of their own cliff. Now those same voices are whispering in regret, realizing they traded their dignity for temporary inclusion. Let them face the ruins they built. You were never meant to be another piece in their pattern. While they fell in sequence, you stayed rooted in reason. That's the difference between a thinker and a follower, between truth and noise, between collapse and control. Remember this, chosen one. When everyone's rushing to follow the loudest fool in the room, that's your cue to stand still, because the first to fall is always the one too afraid to stand apart. Number 7. Watch the company you keep. Betrayal always devours its own circle. Chosen one, the same crowd that laughed together while plotting against you, is now choking on the smoke of their own fire. That's the rule of rotten alliances. Betrayal doesn't vanish, it mutates. The group that once bragged about unity now whispers in panic, each one trying to prove they weren't part of the madness. But you and I both know how this ends. When lies are the glue, the whole structure melts under heat. They thought loyalty built on gossip was strength. It wasn't. It was a time bomb made of insecurity, and it finally went off. Watch how fast they turn on each other now. The one who started the rumor is being accused of twisting the truth. The so-called leader is scrambling to find new followers. The rest? Hiding behind half-truths and deleted messages, praying no one connects the dots. They thought they were soldiers in a cause. They were pawns in a circus, clapping for a ringleader who used them as shields. Betrayal doesn't need outsiders to destroy a group. It eats from within, one false promise at a time. And here's the sting, chosen one. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't lift a finger. The same energy they sent your way boomeranged back, slicing through their own circle. You see, betrayal has a way of demanding payment, and it always collects, with interest. Now, the people who shouted your name in mockery can't even say it without tasting regret. That's poetic justice, the kind that doesn't need applause, just patience. So remember this, never envy their crowd, never crave their approval. Let them keep each other busy with lies while you rise with clarity. Because in every false alliance, the backstabbers always end up bleeding on their own knives. Number 8. Guard your energy, sit on your throne, and let chaos consume itself. They couldn't stand your calm, chosen one. Your silence felt like thunder to people addicted to drama. They threw shade, built rumors, even tried to drag your name through their circus, hoping to see you panic. But you didn't move. You sat still, unbothered, unshaken, while they burned through their own chaos. That's what real power looks like. It doesn't shout, it doesn't chase, it observes, it lets the noise destroy itself. You see, the unstable always confuse peace for weakness. They think composure means fear, when in truth, it's control. While they screamed trying to get your attention, you were refining your focus. While they were plotting, you were planning. While they were throwing tantrums, you were mastering timing. And that's what kills them now, the realization that you were never playing their game. You were building an empire while they were busy starting fires. They wanted a reaction because reaction gives them power, but you robbed them of that. You starved their need for validation by refusing to perform. It's why their anger grew louder, because your silence forced them to face themselves. Every insult echoed back like a mirror. Every lie exposed its own creator. That's how the universe works. It protects the calm and consumes the chaotic. Chosen one, your throne isn't built from gold. It's built from discipline. Every time you resist the urge to clap back, your crown grows heavier with wisdom. Let them talk. Let them spiral. Let them choke on their own noise. Your peace is punishment enough. You don't need to prove your strength. Your stillness already proves their weakness. Stay seated. Stay focused. The throne doesn't chase peasants. It watches them destroy themselves trying to be seen. Number 9. Move in silence. Real power protects itself without announcing it. Chosen one, the loudest ones in the room are always the weakest. Noise is their disguise, an illusion of confidence covering a deep, hollow fear. But you learned the art they'll never master, silence with purpose. While they screamed for attention, you moved like a shadow, strategic, unseen, untouchable. They mistook your calm for fear, your quiet for surrender. But what they didn't know was that real power never needs to prove itself. It simply exists, and its presence alone shifts the entire atmosphere. You were never unprotected, even when they thought you stood alone. Every insult they threw missed because you were already 10 steps ahead, shielded by clarity and timing. The universe has a way of hiding its strongest soldiers until the right moment. And when the time came, your silence spoke louder than their entire chorus of lies. They plotted in circles, rehearsed their downfall, and never realized that the storm they created was clearing your path. Understand this. Every fool reveals their weakness by speaking too soon. They announce their moves, broadcast their schemes, and celebrate victories they never earned. But you, chosen one, play the long game. You let the noise burn itself out while you prepare in peace. By the time they realize the game changed, you've already rewritten the rules. Your silence was never weakness. It was strategy. It was armor. It was wisdom in motion. The kind that keeps your peace unshaken and your enemies guessing. Let them chase attention. You'll keep chasing mastery. Because true power doesn't need applause. It doesn't scream, it waits. And when it moves like thunder, late, precise, and impossible to ignore. Number 10. Don't set traps for others. Every snare you build comes back for you. They thought they were clever, chosen one. Every message, every whisper, every fake story they planted was designed to drag you into chaos. They didn't want truth. They wanted reaction. Their plan was simple. Make you lose your calm, twist your words, and turn your silence into guilt. But here's what they didn't understand. When your foundation is built on clarity, no lie can trap you. You stood still while they built their little web, and before they realized it, they were the ones tangled in it. Life has a flawless sense of irony. The same holes they dug for your reputation became the pits they fell into. The same lies they rehearsed are now circling back with their names written on them. That's the law of cause and effect. Not mystical, not magical, just the natural order of actions returning home. You don't have to chase revenge. The truth has a way of showing up uninvited, and when it does, it doesn't knock. It breaks the door. Imagine them now, the self-proclaimed strategists, sitting in the ruins of their own setup, confused about how everything flipped so fast. They thought they were hunters, but the moment they aimed at you, they became prey to their own deceit. That's the sting of poetic justice. It doesn't warn before it strikes. Chosen one, understand this. People who plot in darkness always forget that light travels faster. Your silence exposed them louder than any outburst ever could. Every snare built in spite becomes a mirror that reflects shame. They tried to write your ending, but they just scripted their own. So walk forward, head high. You never had to step over their traps. You simply outgrew the battlefield they crawled on. Number 11. Keep evolving. Growth leaves the gossip behind in the dust. They thought they could keep you trapped in the same version of yourself they once mocked. Chosen one. They studied your past, memorized your weaknesses, and built their entire strategy around an outdated image of who you used to be. But while they were whispering in circles, replaying old rumors, you were rewriting your entire story. You evolved in silence while they kept rehearsing your downfall like a script that never made it to stage. That's why they're furious now, because you outgrew their narrative before they even realized it was dead. Growth has a way of exposing small minds. It's quiet, gradual, and unstoppable. While they were trying to drag your name through the mud, you were building towers above the noise. They still speak your name with resentment, not realizing that every time they do, they're advertising the distance between who you were and who you've become. You no longer fit into their conversations because your frequency doesn't match their volume, and that's the part that haunts them, realizing they can't even reach you anymore, not because you blocked them, but because you've elevated beyond their comprehension. Chosen one, understand this. Evolution is revenge without the violence. You don't need to clap back or prove anything. Your progress is their punishment. Every new level you reach is another reminder that they wasted their energy watching you instead of working on themselves. You turned their obsession into motivation, their gossip into grit. Now they sit in circles, replaying your name while you're already onto your next victory. That's what true power looks like, silent advancement while the noise collapses in the background. Keep evolving, chosen one. Growth is the one thing your enemies can't imitate, and the one weapon that never misses. Number 12. Master alchemy. Turn every attack into the fuel that crowns you. Chosen one, this is where everything flips. The fire they threw at you was never meant to burn you, it was meant to forge you. Every insult, every smear, every calculated betrayal was a spark striking against steel, shaping you into something they can no longer touch. They wanted to see you melt under pressure, but instead, you became the flame itself. That's what they can't process, how every attempt to break you became another layer of armor. These people underestimated the quiet science of transformation. They thought pain would weaken you, but pain is the oldest teacher in existence. You didn't just endure it, you studied it, absorbed it, and rewired it into power. That's alchemy in motion, the art of turning venom into vision, chaos into clarity, hate into hunger. While they were busy gossiping in circles, you were collecting lessons, upgrading your mind, and polishing your crown in silence. The very energy they used to attack you became your source of acceleration. And now look at them, drained, directionless, still trying to figure out how their own sabotage fueled your rise. They called you delusional when you stayed calm. Now they call it luck because they can't admit you mastered what they feared to face, yourself. The truth is, they were never your competition. They were your construction crew, unknowingly building your empire with every blow they struck. Remember this, chosen one, real alchemy isn't about escaping the storm. It's about learning to harvest lightning. You turned every hit into heat, every betrayal into blueprint. And now, while they fade into the ashes of their own bitterness, you wear the crown their chaos created. You didn't just survive the fire, you became the reason it burns. And that chosen one is the full circle of their downfall. They tried to bury you under lies, but all they did was plant the seed of your evolution. Their collapse became your confirmation that truth always wins, even in silence. You didn't just rise, you rewrote the rules of power. So if this message lit that fire inside you, take a second to fuel the movement. Hit like, subscribe, drop 99 in the comments to seal your energy with this truth. And share this video with another warrior rising through the same storm. The era of silence is over. Your rise has begun.